What's up, Kansas City? I'm your host, Glenn Bryan Frizzell. Today's special segment is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association. I know you recognize our guest. He's been here before, Mr. Jermaine Reed, Kansas City Councilman, 3rd District. Welcome back.
Well, it's good to be back here. What's up, KC? It's probably about the 5th time been here. What's up, KC?
And each time you come back, it's more rewarding than the last time. We like to, first off, congratulate you on your election victory. What do you expect from your new city council? What's the synergy going on here?
Well, of course, on August 1st, the new city council was sworn in right here in the heart of the 3rd District, the American Jazz, at the Gym Theater, I should say, right in the heart here, American Jazz Museum, Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, Lincoln Building, all of this right here. But August 1st, 9 new members, along with 3 additional members, which include myself, who I guess you could say are spillovers from the old council, and then of course including the mayor. We were all sworn in to our term for 2015-2019 for 4 years on the city council. So I'm looking forward to what the new council will bring to the table. A lot of people who are familiar faces, extremely professional persons. Many people, 2 of the individuals at least, have already served on the city council before, so they kind of have that experience. But then some younger faces as well, and so that makes me feel good because yes, I was the youngest person in city history ever elected to the city council, but now I'm no longer just serving as the youngest person on the council. We've got some fresh blood there, and I think that diverse experience in terms of age, in terms of demographics and what we represent will be unique to the council, and certainly one that will help us tackle very tough issues.
Mr. Reed, you mentioned fresh blood here, and I like the way that you tied in the 18th and Vine swearing, predominantly featured in our spot. What can our constituents expect from you? Is this your last legal term?
Well, yeah, we get 2 terms that we can serve as a council person, and you can run for something else, or you can sit out and then come back and serve additional 2 terms. So each term is 4 years apiece, and so
But
this.
you're not going to sit out, are you? I mean, you have some projects that you want to accomplish during this particular time.
Absolutely.
You're going to go on probably.
Well, I don't know if I'm
Something
going to go
greater.
on anything else. Right now, I'm certainly focused on the next 4 years of how I can benefit our community. First project that is really near and dear to my heart is Prospect Max. Literally right before coming over here to do an interview today on What's Up Kansas City, I had an opportunity to speak with the new director of KCATA, former mayor and CEO of Wyandotte County and KCK, Joe Reardon, and also the board chair for KCATA, and a really wonderful conversation about Prospect Max. And this morning here in Kansas City, the Secretary of Transportation, Anthony Fox, who is a former mayor himself and who has been here to Kansas City a number of times, was here as well and talked about the importance of bus rapid transportation in Kansas City, but of course across the entire country. Mm-hmm. And we have a $40 to $54 million funding gap, which last week we were actually approved for the next round of funding for that gap to be actually filled through the federal government. And so that is a huge project that I'm looking forward to working on. Not only does that mean improved bus service and transit service for citizens in our community to be able to go to and from downtown to South Kansas City or vice versa, wherever, to a job or just for leisure or what have you, but it also means improved infrastructure along the entire Prospect corridor, which is something that I've been working hard on the prior term, but then in addition to jobs and other opportunities for people in our community. So that's a huge project that I'm working on, and literally last week I sponsored a piece of legislation, the first week of the full session for the new council, to implement a lot of the projects that have been sitting on the shelves, where a number of stakeholders in our city have worked hard and provided their input, put in over 1,000 hours of service to making sure that plans were implemented. And so now they have these recommendations, and we have ways to implement them, and I have commissioned a resolution that really does that. So we've got to improve our housing stock. We've got a lot of things to do the next 4 years, and I'm excited about rolling up my sleeves and doing it with my new colleague from the 3rd District at Large, Quentin Lucas, City Councilman, in addition to the members of the council from the from the 4th and 5th District, I should say, who really kind of have the heart of the city in mind, but all districts, of course, working together to do that.
You didn't mention 6th District, Ruskin High School, though.
Well, I was going to get to 6, but I had those 2 on top of my mind. But we can't forget about 6. I mean, in general, our city, yes, we have 6 districts. We have over 500,000 people who live in Kansas City. There are probably about 78,000 people in every district, but that's just what the census say, right? And that's how we divvy up different projects here or there for revenue and things of that sort.
Sure.
But we are one Kansas City, and I think that's an important piece. So regardless of where you live, south, north, east, west, midtown, what have you, we're one Kansas City working toward making our city best for all of us to live, work, and play.
And what challenges are you facing right now, if any?
Well, I mean, there are going to be a number of challenges. We've got a lot of big projects on the table. You know, KCI Airport is one of those, where the mayor commissioned a group of citizens to come together, and their sole purpose was to make sure that they could come up with what would be the recommendations for or against a new airport. Out of that commission, there were 3 options. There were first option being one of do we actually build a new airport? 2, do we actually have renovations in the existing terminals that we have? Or 3, do nothing. And so working with the airlines and others, we've got to figure out what we do with that big issue. That's an issue that will impact all of us as citizens in Kansas City. If it has to go out to a vote or so in terms of how it's paid, that's a big issue. Another challenge will be
When will that?
go ahead. Yes.
When do we get an update on that?
Well, the mayor appointed new committees, and so there will be the airport committee, which is chaired by former state senator and now council person from the 4th District, Jolie Justice, is head of that committee, and they will have a report back from the airlines and the airport within the next couple of weeks. So citizens certainly could tune in and come down to City Hall and hear about that impact. But we have a long ways to go in terms of a final decision, if that's probably the larger part
And
of
the
the
convention
question.
hotel?
That's where I was going to go next. Yeah, I mean, you got $311 million, 800-room hotel, and a place that will provide almost 400 jobs for working class people here in Kansas City. But the funding of that is extremely important in how we go forward with that. I submit to the importance of us being able to attract wonderful conventions here in Kansas City and attract people to our region. Being in the heart of the country, we actually have an ability to make sure that people from far and near are able to convene in a central location. Cheap flights, a wonderful city, great teams, especially the Royals. But that's important, and so we do need a convention hotel to be able to do that. But in terms of how it's paid and who gets work on those projects before the project is completed and after when the hotel is up and running, and who's going to be working inside of it is extremely important.
Exactly, who's going to be working inside of it. Not just that, you mentioned the Chiefs and the Royals, the green energy. What type of conventions do the people of 3rd District would frequent?
Well, a number of them. The first one that comes to mind is the Baptist ministers, or the Baptist. What is it called? It's the Baptist Union, or the Baptist
NBC.
Convention.
National Baptist Convention?
Yeah, there you go. National Baptist Convention. Yeah. And so many of the conventions are more in line with that, like the conventions for churches. You know, my church will be having our annual conference here next year. And so many people who frequent a lot of churches in the heart of the African American community, that's usually our exposure to the convention center downtown. And then, of course, when you have guests coming in and out of town for those conventions, being able to attract those conventions here, we've got to be able to have a number of hotel rooms. When last year we were in bidding for the National Republican Convention, one of the things that they were looking at was how many hotel spaces that we have. But we've got to be able to do that, and again, in the African American community, in particular in the 3rd District, where we have people. You want me to look here? Okay. We have people who are frequenting the downtown because of those different hotels.
Now let's talk a little bit about economic development. You have you're on the Small Business Entrepreneurship and Job Committee, and Jermaine, when I looked at this, I just immediately thought Boys State in terms of able to start your own business. But what about the longevity and the sustainability, especially in 18th and Vine? How do we attract smart, innovative ideas?
This is probably one of the things that I get messages from constituents from all the time, and folks who have a great idea and are wanting to find the next steps of how do they go forward. So if that is, how do you get a small business loan? How do you cut through the red tape to open up your business? It is important to me that we continue to grow. That we continue to grow small businesses in Kansas City, and serving on that committee. Last term we met for a long time. I should mention we had a number of meetings out in the community. We listened to people. We met at different small businesses where people who just had a small idea which made it into a big idea. We came up with 67 recommendations. Many of those recommendations which have now been implemented, which say to a lot of people in our city how you cut through the red tape and how do we make Kansas City business friendly for all. And so we've been able to do that, and I'm looking forward to being able to continue to do that in the future, because as we move forward, we want to be able to retain the businesses, not only getting you to the first step of opening an actual business.
And you said reaching out and facilitating the comments of your public. I caught your radio show not too long ago. I'm trying to become more of a frequent listener. You mentioned there's an event at the Southeast Community Center coming up.
Yeah, well, you called it yesterday then. It comes on every Tuesday at 12:30 on KPRT, and folks can listen online at kprt.com. I think that's where a lot of people listen. Or if you're in town, you certainly can listen at 1590 AM on your radio dial, which comes on the Gospel 1590 station. And it's one of the things that I was talking about this past week was the events that have occurred in Missouri, and we come on every Tuesday at 12:30, and folks can certainly listen at that time. And so when we were talking this past Tuesday at 12:30 p.m., of course, we were talking about the event that's happening at the Bruce R. Watkins Culture Center, and it's actually going to be Thursday.
Bruce Watkins.
Yeah, it's going to be held tomorrow, and it's going to allow the 20th. That is, so that's, I'm not sure when people will perhaps be watching this broadcast, but August 20th is when that will be, and so.
No, there's one also in September, right?
Well, they're going to have some follow-ups.
Follow-ups.
Yeah, and I don't know all the dates for those, but this allows for them to have the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. Allows for their voices to be heard. It allows for them to, if you've had an encounter with a police officer and you don't feel like your voice has been heard, kind of like the folks in St. Louis, Missouri, kind of like heck, my siblings.
To speak up.
Yeah, it allows for you to really have your voice heard at a forum. A lot of times people aren't really going to those, or you see the same repeats at every forum. But we really, that report that was given out in Ferguson, Missouri, when the federal government came in and did their report. It's important. It's an important report because, I mean, even if you look at what the recent movie of Straight Outta Compton happened 20 plus years ago at this point, but heck, we are straight out of Kansas City right now. We are straight out of Missouri, and we've got problems that are occurring in our communities that we've got to be able to do something to actually make an impact on people's lives every single day, and so that's what that forum is going to allow people to do.
Now we talked about Ferguson. What is the link between education and crime? We have a couple of numbers also released recently talking about the education, our test scores. Are you concerned at all?
I am. I am, and I'm concerned about public education. Certainly in the Kansas City Public School District. And when you look at the numbers, and also look at not only the numbers on test scores, but look at the numbers of young people or children who are leaving the school district. When we have, when I was in school, we probably had, and that was, 10, 12 years ago, there were probably, I think maybe 25, 30,000 people, students in the school district. And over that 10 to 12 year, 13-year period of time, we now have probably 13,000 students in the Kansas City Public Schools. So we have, charter schools that are in place now. We have a number of different options for people, but there's a direct correlation between education and poverty, and also prison. And we continue to hear often about third grade reading levels, and that being when people start making prisons, and they built their numbers and look at it from that. So we've got to do something to improve our public education. Parents got to get involved in their education of their young people, and everybody may not go off to college, but if that trade or that skill that you have, you're able to use your skills and ability to become a very productive citizen in society, that's extremely important.
Productive citizen.
I want to see something happen.
Now,
with our public
I
education.
heard Miss Elisa Kennedy on your show a couple of weeks ago, and she echoed some of the things that you're
Yeah,
talking
you've
about.
been listening for real.
Oh yeah, real-time listener.
There it is.
Real quick here before we wrap up, I kind of call you guys the triumphant, the three powers. You, Randy, and Brandon, young political movers
I hadn't heard
from
that
the
before.
Kansas City area. I don't know if you guys have a coalition or a pact or keep in touch with each
We
other.
do, yeah.
But how is that relationship in terms of being a young political leader and being a role model in the city?
Well,
And what's next?
Well, okay, let me answer the first part first. You said Randy, State Representative Dunn, I should say, and State Representative Ellington. They're a little older than I should say, first, but not by very much. But it really is. Care about the difference in our community. We truly care about seeing lives changed and impacted in a very positive manner, and we have stepped out. We have stepped out when people told us we shouldn't step out. And we continue to speak out and be active in our community through our service, of course, in our respective fields, but just through our service in the community. And so it's a huge responsibility. I'm happy to call both of them my friends. I'm happy to call the new persons who've been elected to the city council friends as well, and looking forward to the years to come of service, because not only are we now sort of the younger demographics of the changing face of politics in Kansas City, but there are a lot of young people. There are a lot of young people who are in high school, young people who watch this show, who are looking up to us. And they're going to be in our position probably 5 years from now or less. And I want to do everything I can to be a good role model for them, so that they know, just like I did growing up with my role model, Al Brooks, and my grandfather, or Terry Rowley, or Emmanuel Cleaver, or people like that who I admired and wanted to be like. And frankly, to this day now, I still admire them, and I'm in a position pushing myself where people probably have the same.
Well, Mr. Reed, that really is very inspirational. Can you tell our viewers how they can reach you?
Well, I appreciate you all for inviting me back here on What's Up KC. Certainly look forward to coming back again and being a part of the show. You can reach me at Jermaine Reed on any social media site, or when this goes off, you can click on another tab and click on to www.kc3rd.com. It comes directly to my City Hall website, and all of my information is on there. That's www.kc3rd.com.
Well, Mr. Reed, we know that your political career in Kansas City is certainly very storied. We look forward to whatever it is that you will do next.
Look forward to
Progress.
continue serving.
What's up, Kansas City? I'm your host, Glenn Brian Frizzell. Check out more video online at www.whatsupkansascity.net. And remember, the sky's the limit. Aim high, shoot for the moon. If you miss, at the very least, you would have landed among the stars.
I'm IFBB Bikini Pro Cat Williams, and when I'm not working out in the gym, I'm searching the web on Cascade Media and What's Up Kansas City. So make sure you check them out.